Yeah, this is Billiam, and Stranger Things 4 is the only season of Stranger Things I did not watch at its release, as the 3-year gap between seasons 3 and 4 was enough to kill my interest for a while. Yet, returning to Netflix in 2022, Stranger Things 4 was the biggest season ever. It was Netflix's most popular English language show, only being beaten by Squid Game's global popularity. The budget for the season was nearly $300 million. That's $30 million an episode, a huge leap from season 1's reported budget of around $50 million total. It was also the longest season ever. The first 3 seasons of Stranger Things have an average runtime of 7 hours and 42 minutes. Season 4 is 12 hours and 58 minutes. And it does not need to be that long. Every season of Stranger Things has divided its narrative, but aside from a few notable moments, the story thus far has taken place entirely in Hawkins, Indiana. Now, as the characters are spread out geographically, the scope truly is grand, as the Duffer Brothers compared the global scale to Game of Thrones. But still, its most interesting parts are in Hawkins, Indiana, as a group of teenagers feeling more like the Scooby-Doo gang than ever before uncovers the mystery of a super-powered serial killer from the Upside Down.
Vecna's curse.
Despite delivering some of the best storytelling the show has had, it also drags out its most uninteresting storylines across all 13 hours.
You want to postpone the cult of Vecna?
I'm definitely not the first to question Hopper's escape from a Russian prison, or Mike and the Byers boys having a stoner comedy road trip across the desert.
Jonathan says the plants are super safe because they come from the earth.
One review said, the whole experience felt like being forced to eat every menu item from the Cheesecake Factory over the course of a day. Lots of deliciousness, some things you never wanted, and the whole experience leaving you feeling nothing but bloated. Only a single episode this season is shorter than 70 minutes. And while that's not a problem in of itself, neither the style nor the content demands the length. Despite having a lot of high highs, I think this season forgets that being digestible is what made the first 3 seasons, even at their lowest, work in the first place. This is Stranger Things 4, the biggest and most bloated season yet. Just like Vecna's tummy.
He's about at his limit.
You know when Will gets that weird tingle on the back of his neck like something bad's about to happen or is happening? Well, I felt off about something the other day and found myself doom scrolling late into the night about my weird symptoms. Have I contracted something? My thoughts were spiraling. We've all been there, but to subside my anxiety, I should have just talked to my doctor instead of freaking out on the internet. Luckily, with today's sponsor, ZocDoc, booking a doctor's appointment is easier than ever before. ZocDoc is a free website where you can easily search and compare high-quality in-network doctors so you can find the right fit for you. What's great is if you're looking for somebody in-network, nearby, or with specific appointment times, ZocDoc will help you find the right doctor for your needs. No guesswork and no phone calls needed, which is great for me because sometimes it's the phone call I put off. You don't even have to talk to anyone. You can see the doctor's actual appointment times, choose a time that works for you, and book a visit. Also, the appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours, and sometimes you can even score a same-day appointment. Plus, with tons of verified patient reviews and detailed doctor profiles, you can get a real sense of the provider and their practice before you even step foot into the office. ZocDoc isn't just for one type of care. They have more than 100,000 providers across nearly every specialty. From mental health to dental health to eye care and skin care, ZocDoc is a one-stop shop for all of your healthcare needs, plus it's completely free. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Billiam, also linked in the description, to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. Thanks again to ZocDoc. Now back to the video. Stranger Things 4 starts with a flashback to 1979 as Matthew Modine returns from season 1 as the malicious Dr. Brenner. It's the height of research at Hawkins' lab as we see the other psychic kids with shaved heads he's experimented on. It started to fall apart when the kids were massacred, only leaving a young Eleven to blame.
What have you done?
And And I have to admit, the context was not enough for me to realize that this kid actor with Millie Bobby Brown's face superimposed onto her was supposed to be 11. They de-age her to look even younger than she did in season 1, and that makes sense. I am so dumb. I thought this was a brand new character. For the most part, the massacre at Hawkins' lab becomes the central mystery of the season, as Eleven is retrieved by Dr. Owens, returning from season 2, and brought to a secret base in the desert to recover her lost powers and suppressed memories. Vecna, the psychic serial killer in Hawkins, is eventually revealed to be experiment number 1, who perpetrated the massacre. Connecting these two stories, but leaving Joyce's rescue of Hopper in Russia and Hopper's escape from a Russian prison feeling totally disconnected from the overarching narrative.
You don't get it, dude. You don't get it.
Though I think every storyline this season starts off really strong, this is the most I've been interested in Eleven as a character since the first season. Returning to the idea that she may be dangerous is awesome, even as a misdirect. I really thought she killed those kids. And trying to fit into standard high school life, Eleven is made to be really pitiable.
Holy shit! What the hell was that?
I was all in on her story after she's arrested for bashing a bully's head in with a roller skate. Revealing Dr. Brenner is still alive inside of the base also gives this storyline a sense of importance in the grand narrative, and his bad intentions mixed with his emotional manipulation is still compelling. He wants to finish his work as daughter and Papa.
Daughter. And Papa.
I actually really like how they portray a young Eleven. The plot device of her recovering memories allows adult Millie Bobby Brown to act out these flashbacks while sparingly using a child actor with little Bobby Brown's face superimposed onto it for key scenes. It's a really good compromise. Brenner's death at the end of the season is satisfying as Eleven regains her powers and denies seeing his abuse as love, walking away and leaving him to die alone like a diva. Yet a lot of this storyline drags out in the middle.
They're laughing at you.
The road trip with the Byers boys, Mike, and newcomer Argyle, played by Eduardo Franco, also starts off really strong. The US government thinks Eleven is a threat and sends the military after her, sending them running for their lives, racing to find Eleven's location before they do. But it also quickly loses its momentum and drags heavily in the middle.
Jonathan.
Yeah?
More weed? Is that really a good idea right now?
Have you got a better idea to keep him calm? Let's just get this done.
But still, the story with the most legs is happening in Hawkins. That's where Eleven's recovered memories takes place. In their freshman year of high school, the boys join a D&D club called Hellfire. After cheerleader Chrissy Cunningham becomes Vecna's first victim, the town blames the head of the club, Eddie Munson, for the murder.
Chrissy, wake up!
As the mysterious supernatural happenings in town are viewed by the citizens through the lens of the Satanic Panic, which grounds the show's science fiction qualities in a cool, dramatic way. As they've gotten older, the younger kids now form a larger group with the teenaged characters. And now they feel like the Scooby-Doo gang more than ever before, as they try to solve the mystery of Vecna to clear Eddie's name. The show has always viewed its characters as outsiders, and now that status threatens them. The Satanic Panic is a great direction for the show.
The game is called Dungeons and Dragons, D&D, and it's become popular with children anywhere from grammar school on up. Not so with a lot of adults who think it's been connected to a number of suicides and murders.
And once again, they name Vecna after a D&D character, suspecting him of pulling the strings from the Upside Down. And it's a cool reference because Vecna wasn't properly introduced into D&D until the early 1990s. The game had only alluded to the character, with artifacts being named the eye and hand of Vecna. In Stranger Things, his influence recontextualizes the monsters as his eyes and hands. But there's still a level of mystery, as his relationship to the Mind Flayer introduced in season 2 still leaves the question of who's truly in control. I don't really think Vecna is scary, and that's not the fault of the design of the character. I think he's kind of cool. Sure, new characters will be brutally killed off, but there is a level of tension lacking as the Duffer Brothers have taken a pretty hard stance against killing off their main cast of characters. Because of this, Millie Bobby Brown referred to them as sensitive Sallys, which is so fucking British. But the Duffers said they wouldn't want to kill off their main characters because the show might lose its appeal, because killing off a central central character would have a major impact on the show emotionally for the characters. And I feel very split on this. On one hand, I have definitely been disappointed by shows killing off characters solely for shock value. That can easily become unsatisfying storytelling. But on the other hand, Stranger Things is supposed to be horror, and not killing characters undermines that. It makes the stakes feel non-existent. And this season, most characters think Hopper is dead, and it hasn't ruined the whimsical nature of the show. But Vecna is cool as fuck. I love his bloated tummy. They redesign him in the new season, and he looks like Groot. I don't like that. I like it when Vecna looks like the Grinch, not when he looks like Groot. The teenager's storyline in the first season was inspired by Nightmare on Elm Street, and here they take from one of its better sequels, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors.
God damn it, Kristen, you ruin everything. Every time I bring a man home, you spoil it. Chrissy, wake up!
In that movie, Freddy preys on kids suffering from mental health issues, as does Vecna.
You're going to look
Absolutely beautiful.
The kids in Hawkins' lab are revealed to have received their powers from Vecna's blood, and like Callie from season 2, Vecna can make his victims see visions, targeting their trauma before killing them, gouging out their eyes and breaking their bones. Introducing a human that's been transformed by the Upside Down was a great move. It adds a greater layer of intrigue than introducing another animalistic monster. And the Elm Street influence comes to the forefront when Nancy Wheeler, named after Nancy Thompson in Elm Street, learns of a killer who terrorized the town in the 1950s. Allegedly, Victor Creel killed his whole family, but he maintains a demon did it. So Nancy and Robin sneak their way into an asylum to interview him. Victor is played by Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, who absolutely crushes an extended cameo role.
Your big break in TV.
No, I assure you, I am still very much in hell.
Vecna is actually his son Henry, who killed his whole family the same way the kids in town are dying. The backstory is told in a monologue that brings you to the edge of your seat, which is saying a lot because this season is filled with a lot of monotonous monologues. But then it just cuts to Nancy and Robin, absolutely unmoved and emotionalist by what he's saying. Damn, that's wild. Max, played by Sadie Sink, is targeted by Vecna, and in a pleasant surprise, she becomes a standout character this season. She's isolated herself, mourning her abusive stepbrother Billy following his self-sacrifice last season, which complicates her relationship with him. Many consider the episode Dear Billy to be a highlight of the season and the series, and I agree. Not only does it feature the Victor Creel monologue, but as Max prepares for the worst, she writes letters to all of her friends, which plays into the mental health theming, sort of being analogous to a suicide note. 4 seasons in, the scene where Max escapes Vecna may be the most iconic scene in the entire show. As Vecna tries to kill her, Max enters a trance and floats up off the ground. Then, calling back to Will and The Clash in season 2, they learn that music can help break Vecna's psychic influence, and they play Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush to save her. Despite the green screen world and sentimental montage, Max running towards a light creates a fantastic metaphor for her letting go of the influence her abusive brother once had on her, which grounds the psychic influence Vecna has on her. It's a fantastic set piece which brought the song to new heights of popularity, and it became a motif for the rest of the season. And for the first time ever, I think Caleb McLaughlin as Lucas steps up as an interesting character. Lucas wants to keep his nerdy friends and make new friends as he's now on the basketball team, but when Jason, the captain, wants Eddie's head after Chrissy is killed, Lucas struggles to keep his feet in both worlds.
Lucas? What are you doing with these douchebags?
You know these freaks, Sinclair?
Jason is also the first time in the show they've written a bully to be a compelling threat. I liked Billy, but he had little involvement in the story before he became a supernatural threat in the last season. Jason is both involved in the story and a human level threat. Chrissy sought Eddie out for emotional support and to buy drugs to self-medicate her unseen mental health struggles, something which Jason can't wrap his head around. He metaphorically lights a fire, inciting a mob mindset in town as he claims Hellfire is a cult. The scariest moment in the season is when he passes out everyone's pictures at the town hall meeting and the boys' parents exchange looks to each other, completely helpless to protect their children from the masses. It's a great maturation of the schoolyard struggles they had with bullies in the first season, and it's legitimately unnerving.
A club! A harmless club! That's what they want you to think! But it's a lie!
But at the center of the story is newcomer Eddie Munson, a breakout role for now superstar Joseph Quinn. Eddie is loud and likes drawing attention to himself, jumping up on the lunch table and making devil horns with his fingers. What a goofball! People are scared of him, but immediately we break through his exterior as Chrissy seeks him out. She realizes the two of them have crossed paths before, and she's charmed by him.
I actually kind of thought you'd be kind of mean and scary too. Terrifying.
I think Eddie is the strongest single season character in the show, and it's cool to see Stranger Things draw influence from a true crime case. The 1996 HBO documentary Paradise Lost: The Child Murders at Robin Hood Hills began an innocence movement to release 3 teenagers convicted of killing 3 children in West Memphis, Arkansas, including one Christopher Byers, who perhaps is the namesake of Stranger Things' Will Byers. Eddie Munson is based on Damien Eccles, who many believe was wrongfully convicted and sentenced to death because of his reputation as a kid who dressed in black, listened to music like Metallica, and read Stephen King. After being on death row for nearly 2 decades, Damien and the others were able to build a legal case that convinced the state to release them without overturning their conviction. But the 3 continued to fight for full exoneration to this day, with new DNA testing currently underway. The HBO documentaries are flawed and exhibited some dangerous bias when the second one tried to implicate Christopher Byers' stepdad as the true killer, but I do believe Damien and the other 2 are innocent. The police of West Memphis showed bias against Damien before any evidence was gathered, solely because of his edgy appearance and behavior.
He wears the black clothing, which creates attention to him.
The available DNA does not match them, and the police's questioning in the investigation has been cited as a textbook example of coercion of a false confession. But regarding Stranger Things, when I compare Eddie to Damien, I'm just reminded this show has lost its edge. Once upon a time, Hopper was a disconnected drunk more concerned with Joyce implying Will may be gay than the fact that he went missing. Jonathan Byers was an outsider, not only because people judged him unfairly, but because he had social issues, which included taking photos of Nancy undressing without her knowledge. But still, the show asked us to sympathize with them. 3 seasons later, Eddie Munson is simply a cutie patootie. His namesake is Eddie Munster. He's just a little, ragamuffin. Damien, on the other hand, exhibited a lot of self-destructive behavior that turned public sentiment against him. He too had social issues. When rumors started circulating that he was responsible for the murders, he liked the attention, allegedly trying to scare a kid by saying he did commit the murders. And when he was brought into the courthouse, he blew kisses to the victims' families. Yes, Damien's behavior was gross, but a teenager facing the death penalty is under a lot of pressure. And if you think he's innocent, he's a very deeply sympathetic case. He was literally on death row for nearly 2 decades before being released. Eddie, on the other hand, really doesn't have self-destructive tendencies.
I wouldn't remember me either, Chrissy. Honestly.
Jason suspects he killed Chrissy because she was in his trailer and he goes on the run, which undermines the absurdness of the town's mob mentality. I like Eddie, but so much of that relies on Joseph Quinn's performance. Flaws make interesting and textured characters, but Eddie is simply written to be adorable and easily loved by the audience, which kind of makes him flat. Vecna is ritualistically killing people to open up portals to the Upside Down all over town, so the gang traverses to this other dimension to kill Vecna, which makes the story truly feel like a D&D campaign for the first time. I love how Dustin's hoodie headband combo makes him look like a knight, and Nancy has always been at her best when she's hunting monsters. Though I am a bit bummed that the Upside Down has turned into green screen land. Part of the reason it mirrored the real world in season 1 was because of budget concerns, and ironically, now that the budget is no longer a concern, the Upside Down loses its unique atmosphere. But Eddie's death is the first time I've been moved by a character death in this show. I loved Bob Newby, but his death was so hilarious that I clap when it happens. To divert an army of bats guarding Vecna's lair, Eddie plays Master of Puppets by Metallica. It's not only a reference to Paradise Lost being the first piece of media Metallica allowed to license its music, but it's a touching tribute to Damien, as Eddie becomes a hero to save the people that hate him so much. Dustin has always been the strongest performance from the original 4 boys, and him realizing Eddie is dying kills me. Without a doubt, everything going on in Hawkins is some of the best stuff this show has ever made. It's dark, it's fun, and the grouping of characters creates a fresh dynamic the show has needed for a while now. But the rest of it? Oh boy. Before we get to that, I really want to give a big thank you to our Patreon members, especially our gold members whose names are on screen now. If you want to support the channel, you don't got to pay us any money. You can just subscribe, comment, like the video, watch the next video, go back and watch all 200 of my videos in one day. It is a bit longer than Stranger Things 4, but you can do it. Watch it at 2x speed. The Hawkins storyline is only like half of the season. And what's crazy about the runtime is this season doesn't really have more episodes than the other seasons, but each of them are like well over an hour long. The finale is 2.5 hours long. I am a fan of Netflix splitting season 4 and 5 into multi-volume releases. It makes the show way easier to watch, and it gives everyone enough time to be able to watch the finale together. But mainly for Stranger Things 4, 13 hours is just way too much content to watch in a single day. 8 hours is pushing it, but doable.
He's about at his limit.
13 is concerning. I watched this season twice, basically back to back to make this video. And on a second time around, so much feels like it can be cut. The first of 11's memories just repeats itself over and over until she figures out how to navigate it. So much of my experience watching this season is screaming to get on with it. The best parts are her interactions with Jamie Campbell Bower, playing who will be revealed as one Henry Creel and Vecna, a character the show has made a few jokes about having too many names. The rest of her backstory involves her being bullied by her fellow psychic children and engaging in silly psychic sparring. It doesn't develop her character, instead it just serves the misdirect that she killed those other psychic kids, which of course is revealed to have actually been done by Henry, Vecna 1.
He was number 1.
He gets another name next season.
It was his hat, Mr. Krabs.
The thing is, I like all the names they give him. This season is filled to the brim with long monologues giving backstory or having characters explain their feelings.
And one day, I found the most extraordinary thing of all.
And I don't really remember the show doing this much before. I can remember a few monologues from previous seasons, but not each season having multiple long monologues. Everyone is parking and barking. Since its first season, Stranger Things has divided its narrative, but it's always made sure to differentiate the tone of the different plot threads. Season 1 had like an X-Files thing going on, a Nightmare on Elm Street slasher horror, and like an E.T. magical kid story. This season, Joyce and Murray's adventure to find Hopper feels like an action-adventure comedy, as does the Byers boys and Mike's road trip from California to find Eleven. And both of these stories are made less interesting because they lack mystery. We see where Dr. Owens takes Eleven. It's a repurposed missile silo. But imagine how much more interesting that would be if we discovered that alongside Mike and the Byers. You could still have the drama play out in the secret base while keeping its location a secret for mystery, but they don't. Of course, there was no world where David Harbour wasn't going to return for the entire season, but imagine if Joyce went on a goose chase and we didn't know if Hopper was still alive. It would have been such a great escalation for her character's compelling belief her son was still alive in the first season. And the reveal that Hopper was still alive would be exciting. Instead, the very first trailer for Stranger Things 4, released 2 years before the season came out, immediately revealed Hopper was still alive. Why? You didn't need to convince people to watch it. People were going to watch it. I think the season's pacing would have also been better if Hopper's story and Eleven's were told in a single episode each. But I think after season 2's The Lost Sister, the show was afraid to do single episode stories. And so much of these storylines can be cut. Alan Sepinwall asked in his review, did anyone anywhere need a redemption arc for the duplicitous, peanut butter smuggling Russian pilot? No! No one did. And I like Winona Ryder so much that it wasn't until this season that I realized her character was no longer compelling. She should have won an Emmy for her first season performance. And upgrading Murray Bowman to a series regular that appears in every episode made me retroactively dislike his appearance in other seasons. He was best as this recluse conspiracy theorist. There is no longer anything about him that's interesting. Now he's just a comedic relief goofball.
My fingers are like arrows, my arms like iron, my feet like spears.
Stranger Things has always had an element of adventure, but this season the series forgoes its roots as a small town mystery by trying to be a globe-trotting adventure, which it never was. I appreciated the adult storylines more when there was this gritty conspiratorial element to them. Now it's just big action adventure. And while I never loved or disliked Hopper and Joyce as a couple, having this grandiose effort to reunite them reminds me that they're not a strong on-screen romance. It was never really developed. Instead, it was just forced on the audience, and I am totally unmoved by their reunion. I understand that Hopper's storyline is supposed to mirror Eleven's backstory, as he has his head shaved, is kept in confinement, and faces the threat of interdimensional monsters held by the Russians in prison. But I am totally of the mindset that Hopper's character arc felt complete after the last season. His letter at the end of 3 gave him an imperfect, bittersweet ending. It was a heroic sacrifice, and the fact that he was only able to communicate his true feelings in death through a letter was as imperfect as he was. It's a beautiful moment that is ruined by bringing the character back. The best development for his character this season is when he elaborates on his feelings of being cursed. He's always blamed himself for his daughter dying of cancer, but him sharing that he worked with Agent Orange in Vietnam gives him a grounded reason for feeling this way.
I am the curse.
But this season has way too many monologues, and this is just one of them. The road trip storyline also starts off really exciting, but quickly loses steam. The highlight is when they have to contact Dustin's summer camp girlfriend in the middle of Utah to help them locate a computer signal coming from the secret base.
Is Susie here?
Ow!
Susie Bingham's Family is very much a play on kids written by Wes Anderson. It's the only memorable stop they make on the trip, but I think I like it because it's in the spirit of having one really good episode, which both Eleven and Hopper's storyline should have taken from. Jonathan smoking weed for the entire season does not do it for me. I am not against stoner humor. I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High because of Stranger Things. I think Sean Penn is great in that movie. But to me, aside from a few scenes, Jonathan's character is just sort of on hiatus this season. The actor is still there, but nothing is happening with him. And I hate to say it because I might get hate, but I don't even mind Argyle.
Dude, this is pineapple.
Try before you deny.
Try it. No, I obviously didn't try. Stop. Enough.
I don't miss him in season 5, but I had no expectations for him in season 4, and he exceeded my expectations. And having him present makes me realize that Charlie Heaton as Jonathan just doesn't have the same kind of comedic chops.
It'll make all your troubles float away, like the seed pods of a dandelion in the wind.
Despite having a really strong performance in season 2, Noah Schnapp has also just not grown on me as an actor. All of his dialogue is delivered with this unnatural heightened emotion that he never builds to. It's always just there. And I like Finn Wolfhard, but they still never give Mike anything interesting to do. What the I think an issue this show has had since the first season is it has trouble developing characters alongside the action. It's always action and then pausing for character development. So to develop Mike and Will's relationship, they literally have to lock them in a car for an entire season, just so they can have a single conversation at the end where Will tells Mike he's the heart of the group and Will continues to suppress his feelings, which he's been doing this whole time.
And us? We're friends. We're friends. Well, we used to be best friends.
You're as cold as Mike. Your Will. But I think the biggest shortcoming to Stranger Things' story structure is they want the climax of every single storyline to happen at the exact same moment. That way they can epically intercut between all the epic moments at the end of the season. Eleven psychically projects herself across the country to defeat Vecna, while Hopper is slaying the Demogorgon, and Lucas is fighting Jason, and everyone's about to die before the day is saved. Except for Max, they do f her up, but of course she doesn't die. That would be too much. Every single season of this show wants to have its Return of the Jedi ending, with a multi-point objective that must be timed correctly for characters in another location to succeed. Every season does this. Imagine how much better it would flow if the stories climaxed at different points in the season and the story moved along. That's called momentum, but that's just not how they do things. The funny thing is, I really do think the best parts of this season are some of the best things Stranger Things has done. But the runtime is totally a result of forgetting what made this show work in the first place. This show should be something you can watch pretty easily in a single day or a weekend while still having time to take care of yourself, shower, eat, do the dishes, whatever. I was recently inspired by Stranger Things to read Stephen King's On Writing. Stranger Things is very inspired by Stephen King, and I can't help but to think of King's recommendation in On Writing to cut your story by 10% as a rule of thumb. 10% of season 4 would have been 78 minutes. And I truly think that would have made all the difference. Even then, it would still be the longest season of the show. So far, it does seem like this is a lesson they've taken into the final season, which so far seems to have shorter episodes, but it remains to be seen. So we only have one more season left of Stranger Things. We're probably going to get to it next month after it all ends. I think Vecna losing his tummy is supposed to be metaphorical for them cutting down the runtime, but oh boy, do I miss his tummy. See ya.